unsustainable. We cannot raise taxes high enough to do it. The scenario that was presented last night leaves us with a $1.8 million deficit. So it is very obvious that the current way of funding schools is unsustainable, as I said before. The state needs to do its fair share, it needs to kick in more funding, and it has to do this because it's not fair. They need to take the burden off the local taxpayer, which includes senior citizens, and understandably, people are angry and they have a right to be. I've been advocating for this. I will continue to advocate. I am still advocating today. Even if I'm not elected, I will continue to advocate for this point because I feel that it's so strong. I feel so strongly about it. It's not just about the seniors, but it's also about the kids. We need sustainably funded schools.
Thank you. Ms. Scott?
So as you can all hear, the budget is difficult. In going out and knocking door to door and speaking with our senior citizens and our those that have kids in school, nobody wants to hear about taxes going up, and I get that. That's like an ouch, you know. We don't want to hear about that, but we do have things to sustain, and it's not going to get any easier. There are, as Mrs. Hogan said, we do need more money from the state coming in, and that would really help a lot because local tax money just doesn't cover it. And I'm not crying. We'll get through and we'll find a way, okay? But this is just the reality of it. Nobody ever really likes to raise taxes. At least I don't. If I could say, we're not going to raise this year, I would say that. But at this point, I don't know. It's a very fluid situation on the board right now.
Thank you. Mr. Brian Updegrove.
So it's always a tough decision. I would always consider anyone in the school district, whether they had children or not, I would truly consider that. And, you know, for the people on the school board now, you know, if they're raising taxes, they're raising their own taxes as well. So it certainly isn't something that they're excited to do or that they want to do. Unfortunately, as we see, that's the situation that we're in. You know, something needs to happen. I could repeat it again, advocating for more money from the state is great. Everyone can do that. You know, I know you're asking what is the school board going to do, but sometimes it takes more people to really push and push and push so we can get more monies from other places that would help subsidize us having to raise taxes all the time.
Thank you. Next question. If you're elected to the board, will you defer to the expertise of the educators, or do you believe that a school board director should override their expertise regarding curriculum? Again, if you're elected, will you defer to the expertise of the educators, the professionals, so to speak, who work for the school district, or do you believe that a school board director should override their expertise when necessary in regards to curriculum? We will begin with Mr. Piccioni.
Is me answering this question a conflict of interest? I'm a teacher, so I mean, I'd probably lose my job if I said yes.
My suggestion would be that you phrase it in the third person and somehow express your feelings, but not too strongly.
I don't know if I can do that not too strongly. You should defer to experts when experts have more information than you. If I go to get my car repaired, it's making some weird noises, I ask the mechanic to look at it, and they tell me what's wrong, what needs to be done. Maybe if it sounds fishy to me, I take it and get a second opinion. I don't listen to the first expert and take what they have to say blindly. But if, as a whole, experts are saying something and you're saying, no, I know better, well, who are you to do that? The board should be listening to teachers, the administration, those are the experts in education. And they should only be thinking of overriding those kinds of things when they have very strong, very unambiguous evidence that there's something else going on. And I think it's really ridiculous to think that there's some sort of ulterior motive from teachers when it comes to curriculum.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely think that board members should listen to the expertise of educators and definitely take that into account. But board members are also elected officials, and they are accountable to the community as well. So if there's conflict between parents and educators, then I think the role of the school board is to kind of mediate the two sides and hopefully try to find some common ground and a solution that can hopefully make both parties happy. Yeah, I mean, and it's important to note too that not all educators will agree with each other, so it's important to just take information from as many possible places as possible.
Thank you. Ms. Weisford.
Yeah, I think that teachers are the experts when it comes to curriculum. That was the question, right? It was about curriculum.
That's correct.
Right. So we would work together with them, but I don't think that I'm qualified to tell an educator who went to college for that role what to teach or how to teach it. That's just like if someone came and asked to do my job for me. I mean, we are a team, we are a community, and we should work together, but I don't think that I would override or agree to override the teachers without a lot of background or a major issue.
Thank you. Ms. Skelton.
Yes, I think we need to all work together. It's called collaboration. That seems to be a really hot word, so I'm going to actually use it tonight finally. Teachers know curriculum. They know how to teach. They are educated in that manner. I am not. If I'm sitting on the board, of course, I would want to have input from our teachers. The teachers know best that way. The board, on the other hand, will know the other side of things. All of the other administrative details, such as what we have to be doing from the state, what we have to be doing to get grant money and funding, all of those kinds of things. So I think working together would be very important. So the collaboration is what is important between the board and the teachers and the paras.
Thank you. Mr. Hook.
Okay, yeah, I think it's important to defer to the experts in most cases. I think as a board member, a lot of us are wearing quite a few hats, and I think we have to be mindful about, for one thing, we're speaking for the community. We're also speaking for the children in the community. Some of us are speaking from the perspective of teachers and having worked together with administrators. So hopefully we can bring that to the table. But then also we're speaking as parents and we're representing the needs of the parents. And we have to just take care to, if there is something going on in a school that we think we need to defer to the teachers about, how does that conflict with the parents and the community, and how do we also come up with an amicable solution between everybody involved, because there are so many stakeholders.
Thank you. Ms. Hogan.
Yes, so the majority of our teachers here in BASD, they hold at least one master's degree. Many of them hold more than one. They're highly educated experts in their field. And I hold 0 master's degree in education. I don't hold a bachelor's degree in education. So I'm not a highly educated expert in the field of education. Also, the PDE really sets a lot of the curriculum. So we follow their standards and their guidelines. But teachers are absolutely the educators in the classrooms, and that's how it should be. The expert educators, excuse me.
Thank you. Ms. Scott.
So if and when an issue arises with curriculum, I would do a lot of different things. I would talk to the teachers, I would talk to the administrators, I would speak with other board members, I would do some investigating myself online and find whatever that controversial issue is or whatever that problem is with the curriculum, I would definitely do my homework. And then you make your decision from that. What is best for the children? And the parents, and often these issues arise when the parents bring it to the board. And every school board member has to be ready to hear that parent and then analyze what is the need, what's the problem, how do the teachers feel about that? Listen, teachers want to teach these kids and they want to teach the subjects they love without interruption. They really do. Teachers are gifted people and I have a lot of respect for them.
Thank you. Mr. Brad, update group.
So I think as a school board, some feedback could be beneficial, but we need to be careful. Back to teacher attrition and wanting to keep teachers here. If the school board is overanalyzing curriculum and putting their opinions on the curriculum when they really don't know anything about curriculum, it could slow progress. So I would just stay in my lane and I would probably let the teachers pick the curriculum.
Thank you. Mr. Roger, update group.
Yes, on the curriculum, as far as the school board directors trying to analyze what the teachers are teaching, would actually be a lot of mistrust going on with board members who don't know nothing about teaching, but trying to teach curriculum that the teachers are trying to teach. We get money from the PDE for this curriculum. If we don't teach it, we don't get the money. That means your taxes are going up, because it's a big problem if we want to say no to their mandates.
Thank you. Now, we're watching the clock, and we'd like to get you folks out of here by maybe 5 after 10 after 9. So this is going to be the final question, and this is going to be a modified response time. Are you ready, timekeeper? This is the final question before their closing statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. 30 seconds. So you can talk fast or consolidate. Are you ready, Mel?
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay, we got this.
What's your position on handling the bullying issues occurring in our schools and buses? Again, what's your position on handling the bullying issues occurring in our schools and on our school buses? We will begin with Ms. Kratz.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, this is definitely a big problem. I think we've tried really hard to teach kids not to bully, and that's worked to some extent. I think we need to spend some time teaching kids how to handle bullying and just how to be more confident in who they are, and to just teach them how to ignore those voices, and then those voices will lose their power. The buses can be a problem just because there's no supervision.
Thank you. Ms. Skelton.
I agree with Wendy. We need to spend more time teaching our children how to deflect the bullying. There's some really good programs out there. I actually did one with our co-op that my daughter and I are involved in. Showed a video from this PhD that goes around to schools and helps children deal with bullying and deflect it. And now the girls are all doing that. My daughter actually did it with a friend that is bullying her. And she turned the tables and he went running home. So if a 5th grader can do that, I think we can teach high school students too.
Thank you. Mr. Hook.
I think somebody already mentioned, most of the time there's not enough supervision on school buses. That's always been true. But every student's individualized needs are different. There's no single bullying incident that happens the same way every time. So there should be behavior specialists and teachers that are troubleshooting these solutions and looking at the reasons why the bullying is happening, and then figuring it out from a perspective of, well, how are we going to treat this?
Thank you. Ms. Hogan?
Yeah, so our social emotional learning curriculum teaches kindness, it teaches anti-bullying tactics, it teaches confidence, it teaches how to de-escalate situations, and it teaches kids how to self-regulate. These are all really important skills that help kids basically just be kinder and better people to each other. So I think, the continuation of those lessons and really kindness matters is important.
Thank you. Ms. Scott?
Well, this is a current issue at the school district. Our bus drivers, number one, need to be backed by administration. Consequences need to be made to these kids with restorative practices, which is also SEL. Because teaching them not to bully, some kids will respond to that, other kids respond to the consequence first, and then they'll respond to that restorative part where you try to bring the kids together if they can, to hash it out, whatever. But our bus drivers need backing.
Thank you. Mr. Brad Updegrove?
So deflecting bullies, SEL, that's all great, but bullies will always be bullies and they'll always be here. So we need to hold them accountable, and there should be a no tolerance policy. Get the parents involved. Maybe a lot of times they're bullying because there are no parents involved. But we really need to hold them accountable and let them pay the consequences for being a bully.
Thank you. Mr. Roger Updegrove?
As a bus driver, I know what it's all about. I mean, it was to the point where the kids were actually fighting before they got onto the bus. So that created an issue of, pulling them aside and saying, you got to stop it now. And this is where bus drivers weren't getting support from the transportation, and I feel they weren't getting support from administration. When a kid fights on the bus or throws something at somebody, the kid should be taken off the bus for more than a day or two or a week at the most.
Thank you. Mr. Piccioni?
So this is what the SEL is for. It is to teach kids to have empathy, to care about one another, to be able to regulate their emotions. That's where bullying generally comes from. It comes from kids being unable to regulate themselves or unable to express themselves, and it comes out in mistreating others. And on the other side, to help kids be more resilient to, not everybody's going to treat you nice in this world, and, being able to let that roll off their back and be able to handle themselves on that end of it too.
Thank you. Thank you all for handling that 30-second allotment. It's time for closing statements. You will have a maximum of 60 seconds, each of you, to tell us why you believe, if in fact we live in your region, that we can vote for you next week in the primary for school board director. We will begin with Ms. Weisford.
I'm hoping to gain everybody's support, and really the reason why is I value the community of Boyertown. I always have, and I know many of you don't know me personally, and hopefully one day you will, but I've always been a strong community member, and I value our education, I value our school district, everything about Boyertown. You guys would get sick of hearing me talk about it because I wasn't raised in a community like this. I didn't have the type of schooling that my children and your children and some of you have had. So it's really important to me to make a difference here in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Skelton?
I'm going to talk really fast because I have a lot to say. My daughter reminded me today of something because I helped her through a difficult time on Saturday. She was competing for the very first time in 5 years of doing Taekwondo. She was competing in her first competition, and she had major butterflies. So she thanked me today for getting her through that because she did carry home a third place trophy, yes. So that got me to thinking, what am I going to say in my closing statement? And I think the best way I can say it is my daughter's Taekwondo school has the 5 tenets of Taekwondo. And just like I am running my campaign, I'm going to act this way as a school board member. I'm going to use courtesy, I'm gonna use integrity, I'm gonna use perseverance, I'm gonna use self-control, and I'm gonna keep my indomitable spirit. And I hope to do what is best for the community, for the students, for the faculty and staff, for everybody involved in our district.
Thank you. Mr. Hook.
First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming here tonight. You guys are all here for the same reason, which is for our community and for our kids. I want to do this because, and I think that I'm a good fit for it because I have the right perspective, hopefully. I had the right experience. I work together with a lot of different administrators regularly and collaborate a lot of different perspectives, and I'm very interested in collaborating. I like collaborating, and I'm also interested in bringing leadership back to the board. And I think that we can do that. I think there are a lot of good people that care in this room, and I'm really optimistic. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Ms. Hogan?
So I want to thank St. John's for hosting us, Mr. David Heiser for moderating, Miss Mel for timekeeping, my fellow candidates. It's really hard to get up here and do this, especially if you haven't sat on a board and you don't have experience with this, and all of you for attending. For me, it's about responsible collaborative leadership that is fiscally responsible and community focused. Strong schools make strong communities. This is a strong community. We need to maintain that. And basically, if anyone has any questions afterward, just come up and ask me, or you can email me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Scott?
So I am committed to you. I'm committed to every student here and their education. I listen when parents come to me. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, I will listen to you. I will hear what you have to say and always measure it in any decision I make. My goal for this community and this school would be to bring Boyertown even to a newer level in our academic standing. To have kids be involved with any co-curricular activity, to keep all those things, because students need that to excel in their character. It builds character, it builds students that can work in a team, it builds a student that is confident in what they can do. So my vision for this school is to make it one of the best academic schools in the area.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley Group.
So first I'd like to say that I thought tonight was great, and for the most part I heard a lot of agreeing and not a lot of disagreeing. So I'm excited for that in general. I think I would just appreciate and I'd be honored to serve on the school board with any of you, and I even look forward to working with the other people that are on the school board. And again, I think collaborating, taking a step back, listening to all views, taking into account all different sides before you react or make your decisions, it's incredibly important. And I can promise you I will do that. I will consider everyone. And I am pro-student, pro-parent, pro-school, pro-teacher, pro-community.
Thank you. Mr. Roger of the group.
Basically, I'm going to reflect all what everybody else on this board had to say. We have